Hi, I haven't uploaded a video in a month, so I thought that I would share with everybody a sample of a private class session that I did with one of my debaters on how to do line by line refutation and how I basically teach line by line refutation. So here you go. So we have this topic, right? Nations should start a zoo. What animals should be in Nason's zoo, right? The AF says there should be an elephant, there should be a lion, and there should be a unicorn. So the negative gets up for their speech. What I'm saying is, in this negative speech, what order do you go in? Where does the negative start? Any ideas?
You start with the AF and there won a C.
Yeah, so they start with answering this speech and the neg speech. I agree. I'm saying out of these three arguments, which argument is the neg going to answer first?
Elephant
Why elephant?
because it goes first.
Because it came first. Because the AF chose to read it first, the negative then answers it first, right? So it's kind of like they said this first, so we have to answer it. What did they say next? Now I have to answer it. So, what I kind of think of this as, right? What I just showed you is kind of what a lot of people call line by line debate. It means you're going down the flow and answering each argument in the order that it was made. For a lot of people who start debate, I like to think of line by line as kind of like lightning. So I was an aspiring artist growing up. I'm a terrible artist. That's a joke. And I used to draw this thing on my sheet of paper, right? Look like this. You ever draw something like this on a sheet of paper before?
Yeah.
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 What is that?
A squiggly.
A squiggly line. Yes, it is, but it's supposed to be lightning. All right. So I think of doing line by line on your flow as lightning. So to not ruin this right now, right? Let's think, right? If I had another sheet of paper over here, right? And I had elephant and lion and unicorn, right? If you think about how this goes, right? They said elephant, and then you're going to have your answer. They said lion, then you're going to have your answer. They said unicorn, and then you're going to have your answer. So I kind of visually have always kind of thought of line by line visually as kind of like doing the debate lightning, right? And the reason that I really think about it from a lightning perspective almost, but from my bad drawing days, is that when you're the negative, even though you're going in this order, you always need to indicate to the judge that you are on the argument that you are about to answer. So the first thing that you're always going to do is identify that argument, right? So before you say what you're going to say against elephant, you're going to identify elephant. You're going to say the other team in the debate said elephant. My answer is, right? Maybe that's too word inefficient. Maybe you say they say elephant, I say blank, right? But that identifier really allows the negative to say, hey, judge, I'm about to say some answers to elephant. Make sure you take that pen and put it next to elephant because I'm about to say some important stuff that you need to write down. Now, once I'm done talking about elephant, now I'm going to tell you that you need to move your pen to lion to write down what the important things I'm going to say against lion are. And then after that, you're going to move to unicorn. And then next to unicorn, you're going to write down these important things that I have to say against unicorn. That's almost how you should think of doing your debate speech. So, like in the debate this morning, where you were AF, were you AF? No, you were neg. You were neg, and I made 3 arguments against the disad in the 1AR. If when you go to answer those, you would go answer 1, my answer to that. Their second answer, my answer to that. My third answer, their third, that's the general way that a flow based line by line debate works. When you have a judge that's experienced who's done debate, this is essentially how they're going to evaluate a debate. That's why it's important to flow a debate this way, because if you flow a debate this way, it makes it so that, let's say they don't answer lion, if I'm able to figure that out via the visualization of my flow, I just insta win the debate, right? I mean, not insta, but like I'm probably just going to be able to prove if you don't answer it, that point outweighs it as more important than anything else in the debate. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So that's line by line, right? They say this, I say that. They say this, I say that. They say this, I say that. This is an easy way to think about it. Now we need to take that a little bit more in depth. So we went over how to identify. Now, a quick little thing. When you identify an argument on your flow, how do you do that? What's your cheat? If this is the speech that I'm giving, when you're giving your speech, how do you know what to identify?
Slow.
What? I can't hear you. It's just going, what?
Slow.
Flow, yes, but how on your flow? So this is a famous song by Beyonce, and when I taught in Taiwan, I taught with a dude named Kurt, and Kurt taught me this trick that I've never forgotten and taught ever since, that when you are on your flow, if you're like, holy crap, I don't know what I'm about to identify, what do I need to do? You always follow the Beyonce rule of debate. If you don't know who Beyonce is a famous pop star, all right, married to Jay-Z, lots of other good things about Beyonce that aren't about Jay-Z. I'm just saying that's a thing. But Beyonce has a song called Irreplaceable, and in the song, Beyonce starts out, and Beyonce goes, to the left, everything you know in the box to the left. And I've always thought about that whenever you identify an argument. I'm on the flow. What do I need to identify? To the left, to the left, to the left. So I'm here. They said elephant, blah, 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 blah. So I'm never going to actually write down that identification. I'm never going to write down, they said elephant. My answer is, this is something that you just extemporaneously do on your feet, right? You just stand up and you're just, all right, they said elephant. My answer to elephant is blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense to you? So here is the next thing we're going to do, Nathan. The next thing I want you to do is think about, what do you say here, right? When you refute something in a debate, like, in our debate this morning, Nathan, how did you know what to say against some of the things on the flow? What influenced what you put in this box?
A tagline or something that I have, like, again.
Okay, so something was there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a model, right, that you can think of. If you don't know what to say, I'm going to give you what you should do here, and I'm going to give you 2 different ways to think about this. All right? The first one is kind of like a Scott original. The second one I've seen in debate since like my existence in debate. So the first one, Nason, I don't know if 7-Eleven has these in the United States. I always draw them. Um, they look like this. See, I told you.
Ices, Slurpee.
Ooh, you said it. What did you call it?
Ices or Slurpee.
An icy or a Slurpee. So, I have debaters who are varsity debaters, graduated in college, whatever, to this day, that still think about debate this way. And really, if this is all you take away from how debate works for a flowing line by line judge, this is all I think you need. So I always tell my debaters to be a competent, good, flow based line by line debater, you need to drink your lightning icy. You need to drink your lightning icy. So we've already talked about the first step, lightning. Now let's talk about the second step, icy. What does it mean to drink the icy? Well, like most things that we have, icy, just like stop in our counterplans lecture, icy is an acronym. All right. The first thing we've already talked about and we have been talking about, identify. So the first thing you're going to do in this box is you're going to say, hey, they said elephant. Remember that they did that so you can write all this crap down that I'm about to say. These things here give you some advice as to what else to put in this box. And I'm going to give you another thing that helps you put things in this box. So the first thing that we're going to go over is the notion of extending or an extension. I'm sure you've heard about this before because you've done PF, but extending is just saying, hey, remember something that we said in a previous speech. That should still matter. That something should still be something that that we should care about. So that means that you need to, an example of this in our counterplan debate this morning, you read the AIDA. I said an analytical no link argument. You answered that analytical no link argument by talking about the new evidence that was read in the NC. And you said, no, it does destroy all AI. Remember, the new evidence says that it spills over to all AI R&D development, which means that, the link to the disad still exists. That is an extension. I consider this the most important thing. If you can do this first, you should do this first because it's taking a card or a piece of evidence or an argument that you already have and it is using it, applying it to another portion of the debate. The next part is to compare or contrast. You've done this before, right? You've been doing this since elementary school. They make you do the Venn diagrams, what's different, what's not, all that type of stuff, right? This is when you can really get into the things that the opponent is saying, and we're going to go through some ways to contrast this in a second, but that is a general way. What does their evidence look like? Do a comparison with what your evidence says. Like, is their evidence written by a blog writer? Is your evidence written by a professor at MIT that does engineering? Those things would probably have different qualifications and credentials that you can compare and contrast and say, hey, this evidence is better than this evidence. The last thing is evidence. All right. This is pretty simple. Read another piece of evidence. Nason, before we add the second component, any question to this?
No.
Yeah. So just
although I need to try to remember IC because
I mean, you know, all these things take time. All I'm saying is just like, you know, this is just a helpful refutation model that's just like, hey, they made an argument. What do I do? They made multiple arguments. What do I do? Drink your lightning icy, right? Identify, extend, compare, new evidence. Identify, compare, extend, new evidence. Identify, compare, extend, new evidence. Now, another way of thinking about this, and I have seen this used, I don't know who came up with this, but I have seen this probably since I was in high school at debate camp. So people use this phrase, Dr. Mo. Dr. Mo. And Dr. Mo is a way to respond to arguments. So it's something else that you can put in this box, right? So we'll put the box around Dr. Mo. We'll box Dr. Mo in. So the first one of these is deny, right? Whatever your opponent said, you should have an elephant, you should say it's not true. No, you should not have an elephant, right? The next thing that you can do is reverse it, right? They say they should have an elephant, but the opposite of that is true. They should not have an elephant. The third way you can do it, you can minimize. You can minimize. So even if this is true, it's not that good of an elephant. It's not that good of an animal, right? Sure, you can have an elephant. Is it really that good? Is it that good a zoo? Not really, right? You minimize it. The last part is to outweigh. Say something else is more important. So these are all different things that you can put in this box to be like, hey, the things that my opponent has said in the debate are not true. All right. So this is essentially how you think of how to make arguments on the flow, on the line by line in the debate. How does it work? The way that it works is you go down the flow, right? Lightning. Boom, 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 boom. Whenever you hit here, you drink your icy, lightning icy, lightning icy, lightning icy. And I've just thought about it that way forever. And combining these two things together, I think is really a way to think about how to do this. So now let's go back to our original example now that we've done all this stuff and apply it. So, Nason, if they say you should have an elephant, right? Maybe we give an answer to that says elephants, right? Nason said he should have an elephant, but elephants are too big for Nason. Their next argument was lion, but Nason shouldn't have a lion because lions will eat him. You notice I'm only writing down eat him, but I'm saying more words. I'm identifying, I'm helping the judge put their pen there. Next, go down lightning, unicorn. They said that they should have a unicorn, but they can't have a unicorn because they don't exist. All right. So if I was going to give that speech without my debate interruptions, it would sound like this. First, Nason said he should have an elephant, but he shouldn't because they're too big for him. Second, he said he should have a lion, but he should not have a lion because he can't control them and they will eat him. He's not a professional lion tamer. The third argument he made was that he should have a unicorn, but unfortunately for Nason, he can't have a unicorn because they don't exist. Right? So that would be an example of me doing line by line and me using some of these things. Now, obviously, when you introduce the arguments into the debate, there's less of a chance for you to do these things, and these things come later in the debate, right? So now, if we were AF again in this debate, what would you do?
Say like, well, no. First of all, elephants are not too big. Also, lions won't eat him, and we can invent unicorns.
Yeah. So the first thing you did was say what? What did you say?
Elephants are not too big.
Well, no, the first thing you actually did, if you didn't even realize it or not, is you identified, right? You said they said elephants were too big. right? So when you give this AF speech, you need to get up and say, hey, they said elephants were too big against my elephant points, but I want you to extend my elephant point in the debate because it's still true. They said it's too big, but whatever, I'll just buy a big cage that'll keep the big elephants in the cage and that'll be fine, right? I'm minimizing it. Next, right, Lightning, next, he said that lions will eat me against my lion point. But my lion point is still true. Extend it. He said that they'll eat me, but no, they won't because I'll get pros to train it. And I bought vegan lions. So joke's on you. They can't eat me. They're vegan. They don't like meat. The third thing they said was don't exist against my unicorn point, but they do exist. Extend my unicorn point. I'm going to read a piece of evidence from Kim Jong-un that says that North Korea found a cave of unicorns. So they do exist. And yes, North Korea did release a press release that said that they found a cave of unicorns. Now,
what they actually did?
Now, you know, whatever the North Korean press agency is, said Kim Jong-un found a layer of unicorns. Now, think about this. If you were going to do line by line, identify Icy, Dr. Mo, and you got to this point in the debate and you were neg, do you think that there's a lot of stuff that you could say against this stuff in the debate? Do you think that you could maybe like question the credibility of Kim Jong-un?
Yes, you definitely can question the credibility of Kim Jong-un.
Or like the validity of the sourcing of like whatever state-run Korean news agency.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, it is an official government-run state agency, but it's North Korea, so I mean.
So you can see why this is so useful, because now that you have more stuff to deal with in the later speeches, it's like, all right, you know, I thought I needed cards earlier for this speech, but oh boy, I just got a lot of stuff to say, right? I could just get up here and say a bunch of stuff. I could probably, Nathan, give this speech with no notes, just looking at my flow. I could probably just, look to the left, use my Beyonce rule of debate, to the left, answer everything, extend everything, make some arguments and move on. To the left, identify, extend, explain, deny, reverse, move on, right? These are all strategies that you employ in the debate. So this would be, now let's imagine we're not debating about silly little animals here, and let's imagine we're debating about like the AIDA that we debated earlier today. All of these things would symbolize a no link, a no internal link, a no impact, things like that. And this would be the arguments that are made against them. This is how you would do line by line on each particular flow of the debate. So when you organize your flows in the debate, you're saying, hey, judge, here's the order that I'm going to do the line by line in the debate in. I'm going to start with the disad. I'm going to lightning icy down that page, answer everything, extend stuff, say why I win that page. Then I'm going to go to the next flow. Same exact thing. And that's essentially for like this flow-based progressive style of debate. That's essentially what you're doing, right? When you give this order or a roadmap, you're just like, hey, judge, you're taking notes this way. Organize your sheets of paper in this order so that you can take notes in this fashion, because this is how the debaters are going to debate and you're going to flow. And pretty much like 95% of the, competitive circuit scene considers debate, if not way more than 95%, honestly, considers debate to be like this. So if we can think of debate like this and debate like this, but like with real, not arguments about you owning a zoo, we could crush it in debate. And this is, everybody's like, you know, flow and circuit and this, like, this is legit all that is. It's just doing this faster with cards, with complex concepts. This is all line by line based argumentation is. Does that make sense? You know, you put some strategy into it, some arguments, things like that. But that's really, you know, there's not much there, you know, there is a lot more to it, but there's also not a lot more to it. So here's what I want you to do right now. Imagine you're neg in this debate. You're right here. All right. I'm going to give you 5 minutes and I want you to give this speech in this zoo debate that we're having and prove to me that you understand everything that we've been talking about. All right.
Okay, wait, so I'm giving this speech.
Yeah, whatever neg speech this is, you're giving. Okay. It doesn't really have a name because I created like this fake zoo debate, but you're giving this neg speech that refutes these things.